Just getting the live stream sorted out, so bear with me. Okay. Of course, now I have to remember how to get this thing up and running. So I'm going to get it up and running without the Tobii Eye Tracker. Oh, should we try again? Let's see how we get on with this. I have to remember now how to configure this aeroplane. It's been a while since I've been in it at all. So this has been updated recently. I don't know if you're aware of that. Let's open the tablet. Okay. So we shouldn't need that anymore. First things first, let's go into control options and go and get the, unlike last night where I made the mistake and completely forgot, Cessna 310. I think I've got a 310 profile. There it was. No, that's the Airbus 310. Maybe I don't. Maybe I've just got a twin profile. Apply, go back, resume. Let's see what this has got configured then. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Battery on. I can put the alternator on immediately, that's fine. Okay. I've forgotten the fuel, haven't I? This is going to be, yeah, I'm going to have to do this without the head tracker. It's not quite good enough to do this. And no, they're on main, so right main and left main, they're on okay. So what have I forgotten? Just reading the comments, that's quite funny. Okay, let's go and put the... Yeah, it helps if you use the boost pumps. Or I thought it would. There we go. So, avionics master. I'm trying to decide what else. I put it on sunny day. It's a windy, horrible day in the UK, so I've gone for a few clouds so we don't have to deal with it. We'll put pitot heat on now, I guess. Actually, we don't need pitot heat on until we get to the runway, do we? I haven't flown the 310 for ages, so it's going to be a bit alien to me to begin with. Sounds awesome then, doesn't it? Do you want to see if I'm outside? While we're on the parking brake, let's just open the engines up a bit. So that was 50% throttle. Excuse me. Something odd going on here. So I'm going to go into the Tobii Experience app and just check something. It's off to one side. Oh, I think the eye tracker has moved under my screen, possibly. So this is how you calibrate it. So I just look at each dot. I'm wondering if me wearing a headset is throwing it out somehow. Okay, no, it was my fault. I had moved the view in Flight Simulator, so it was all skewed. So it's another another lesson, basically, another lesson learned. Oh crikey! Watch the wing. Just got away with that. We're not going to get away with the Cessna though. It just scraped his wing. So we have no wind now, so we can pretty much take our pick with runways. flaps out. If memory serves, we need 100 knots. It's going to be close. No, we're fine. Gear up. Pull the manifold pressure back a bit. So RPM's far too high. That's about right. Okay, let's turn back round. So someone's commented, it said, was that an islander? Yes, there was an islander on the apron. So just going to turn back around and go and pass by the airfield again. Couple of islanders down there. Right, we're at Land's End, so it would be a shame not to go right down to the corner. So Lizard is the southern point, isn't it? And then the most westerly point is Land's End itself. So having never been there, I'm not sure which bit it is. I guess it's going to be the bit that looks the most built up. Have a look on the map. Oh, we can see it on the map. So it is this one to the right here, with the most built up bit on it. So let's descend a little bit. We're just going into some cloud here. Put the strobes on? No. Oh, the click spot for the strobes is tiny. So there you go, there is Land's End. If we go and lean across the cockpit. Okay, I guess we get on our way now. Oh, hello. Just might need to answer the door, hang on a second. Sorry about that. And now, of course, everything's completely screwed up. There we go. I'll move the microphone above the line of my mouth so I'm not breathing on it. So this is Cornwall. We're going to be flying probably 1,500 to 2,000 feet, maybe up to 2.5 at times for most of the route, so we get to look out and sightsee. And should we go and change the mode on the radio to this one, because then it gives us the distance to the next waypoint, which is quite useful. Let's have a look at this plane from outside. It's a lovely looking aeroplane. It's interesting though, look, because both propellers go the same direction. Its natural propensity is to roll all the time, because the tailplane is being hit by the airflow from the propeller as it barrels down the side of the aeroplane. So I'm having to trim out that small amount of roll. Trim the elevators out as well. I mean, we could go to autopilot and cheat, but where's the fun in that? We'll fly it by hand as often as we sensibly can. Should we get LittleNavMap up so we can see the map on the route? So window, open window layout, minimal. We'll put it up here. So you get to see, oh, I need to hide the taskbar from Windows. That's better. So now you can see the place names on the map as we fly along them. So we're going up to Perranporth for our first stop. So yeah, this is a bit of a longer term test of the Tobii today to see if I develop the muscle memory to use it. It's getting the habit of where using the keyboard and the mouse I would have zoomed in on an instrument, which then if you imagine doing that with a Tobii, if you're further away and you zoom in, a small head movement is going to mean a huge movement in the cockpit versus leaning forwards and suddenly that track problem goes away because a large head movement doesn't mean so much at close range. Yeah. And obviously then you've got the tuning controls for the Tobii itself. The one thing I've seen that people that are used to Track IR that they really miss with Tobii is with Track IR you can switch on and off the tracking without affecting the camera position. If I switch the Tobii on and off, it resets to a forward-looking position. Or off and on, I should say. But it is cool, isn't it, being able to just lean over and look around and see the world going by. Seems to have got it pretty well trimmed out now anyway. Should we stay close to the coast on the way up to Perranporth? So let's get familiar with where the fuel gauges are. I gave it 90% fuel before we took off, so we should get quite a long way up the country before we need to refuel. So manifold pressure's fine, RPM's fine, everything else looks good. 8 miles to run until Perranporth. Increase the range on this a little bit. But just being able to do this is just really cool, isn't it? To see the Coleman windows in the altimeter, for example, you know, really closely, so when you're tuning it you don't have to even think about it. I guess the other trick we could do here is put this on that view. Kind of the best utility, isn't it? So you can see Perranporth now right in front of us. So should we go straight in? So we'll lose some power. Does this have a klaxon in the 310 if you pull the throttles back? Yes, it does. So I guess a nice test, actually, if we do a left circuit or left pattern and then we get to check looking over our shoulder to see how nicely that works. So just bleeding speed off and losing a bit of altitude on the way in, just gently. So I'm just reading a comment there, people saying that the videos look better with Tobii. I will admit it's been a huge learning curve for me. I'm having to kind of retrain myself the way I look around. And it is, the first day it was quite hard on my neck muscles because you are physically holding your head still. Okay, so we're down now into flat range. I'm going to put the gear down, which will obviously give us some drag as well. So just having to be mindful that this aeroplane doesn't like going slower than, say, 100 knots or so. Or certainly didn't used to. Whether they've changed that, I don't know. I'll put my head through the window there by accident, by the look of it. Getting a bit low there, so I've just stopped myself from descending any further. So I'm guessing this is Perranporth down here. That's fascinating, isn't it? Just how much on an edge this aircraft is at that 100 knot mark. As soon as I opened the throttles, it leapt back into the air without really changing attitude. So wheels back up. Okay, turn back around and we get on with our journey. Trimming out for a level flight again. Should get the autopilot on. So it should go roll and vertical speed hold. So let's go altitude hold. Let's get the heading bug in the right place. Go for heading mode. That's our altitude hold. We haven't set a target altitude, so we're at 1600 feet. Let's go for 1500. That's armed, so we just need to tell it to go down a little bit to get to it. Ah! It won't do it now, look. So that's going to come back down. It should capture on 1500. So now we can relax a little bit. Very odd. I'm having to crouch down a lot to look down. I have to change my seat position. That's better. I've just changed the height of my seat in the room in relation to the sensor. Okay, so obviously we can go nav mode as well, so let's try that. Are they saying that we haven't set a course, have we? But I guess that's just reflecting. This won't rotate on its own like the digital clever ones. And again, I've used my old trick look. I need to stop doing that. And now I've messed up the height. So this is a huge learning curve for me. There we go. So I've done it again. I think the takeaway so far is the looking outside bit is the easy bit. Fiddling with fiddly instruments is the difficult bit. Let's get LittleNavMap back up. So we are now on our way past Padstow on our left, so wave to Rick Stein and his very expensive chip shop. Should we come off autopilot and fly over there and have a look? There's a wind farm here on the hill. So we've just passed St Morgan RAF base. So I'm just using head tracking at the moment because eye tracking doesn't really suit Flight Simulator very much, because if I was to glance at an instrument, the camera will start panning in that direction. And you can control how much that happens. So at the moment I'm just using head tracking, which, you know, I can waggle my head all over the place. I can move around. But it means I can freely look around at and glance at instruments at the corner of my vision without the camera starting to look over in that direction. So Padstow's over here on the left. That's a good point actually. What's the sound like? Have we got a good mixture? It's probably a bit loud, isn't it? Should we turn it down a bit? There we go. Okay, go and rejoin our route. So Port Isaac, if you weren't aware, is where Doc Martin is filmed, the TV show. For those on international audience, it's about a doctor that used to work in the city that doesn't have the best people skills. And he ends up working in a small rural community. So we're going past Port Isaac along the way, just so you get to go and see it. Can I look up? Yes, of course I can. Yes, he has a phobia of blood, doesn't he? Famously. So you will recognise it, hopefully, from the show if you've seen it. There's a tiny little beach. Let's sit up as we come past. So the trouble is, this doesn't simulate tides. So where the road comes down into the town, there's a little beach. It's a tiny little place. So there's the beach where, and there's the seafront where everything happens in the show. The actual doctor's house is up the hill here. Anyway, let's go and get on with our route. It's a tiny little place, Port Isaac. So we're off to Davidstow Moor for our next touch and go. How are we doing on fuel? We have loads. Just out of interest, for throughout the day, if we go and put ourselves on the West Europe server, if anybody wants to join me, I'm on West Europe, so there you go. So we should see Davidstow Moor very soon. And we can figure out how we're going to approach. There's the wrong way. So I guess we do the same again, just do a left circuit in. It's a nice easy way to do an approach, isn't it? So we get the gear down on the downwind leg. We use the longer runway actually. We use the one that we can see across our path here. Gear down, that will help us with losing some airspeed. funny. I'm having real struggles with figuring out which way the plane's going. Okay, let's do right turn out towards the coast. So I think to aid myself with head tracking, I need to line up earlier so I can get myself stable in, you know, where I'm watching from. So obviously we can go autopilot and go nav mode, and we'll take this up to 2000 because we're nearly there anyway. Why didn't that engage altitude mode? Strange. So this is doing roll hold, and it's going to try and capture nav, so as soon as it gets to the line it will straighten itself up. Well, that's the idea. So if you keep an eye on it, it will bank left in a moment. There it goes. Okay, so where's next on our list? 30 miles up to Chivenna. Simon Crocker says, hi JB and all. Yeah, I have no idea how many people are watching. I haven't looked yet. So Jeep's saying the Cap 140 autopilot altitude often baffles me. Yeah, it's a bit odd sometimes. So we've got 25 miles to run. We've not put the transponder on, not that we're using ATC anyway. Let's go and turn that on. Yeah, because we're just above 2,000 feet, so there's no way of getting the autopilot really to get down to 2,000 feet. Because you can't target an altitude that's this close to where you are. It's just a bit odd. I'm sure a real pilot that's used to the real thing would tell us what tricks they use to do those sort of things, or they probably just disengage it, drop a couple of 30 feet or whatever it is, 50 feet in our case, and re-engage. So if we did that, just go vertical speed mode and then press altitude again when we get to 2000. It's just learning all the real life hacks, isn't it? So John is asking, may I ask which joystick yoke and rudders you're using? So do we risk what we did the other day? If I go into OBS and I do the inset camera, hello, we can show you. There's the yoke. Airbus yoke. Oh, sorry, I need to move this out of the way, don't I? Oh no, it should be fine. You can see this, I can't. So, there's the Airbus yoke. There's the Airbus quadrant. There's the joystick. I have a Stream Deck that I hardly ever use for anything. I have got it programmed up for flight sim, so I can do things like autopilot controls. So I've gone and programmed up all of the various autopilot modes and the plus minuses for them, so I can control it from there, but I very rarely do. It comes into its own really for things like DCS. So if I go into like the F-15 in DCS, I can go into the various avionics buttons that also weapon system buttons that I've programmed up. But yeah, I usually just leave the time and date on it. But yeah, the Airbus yoke is pretty good. But yeah, this is all I have. So I have a Chromebook. This is how I monitor the feed. So the Chromebook is one of the flexible ones that you can bend in half. So I put it down there so I don't affect the head tracking too much. And then yeah, so 32-inch screen. That is my entire setup. I've got a far less than most. This Chromebook is my daily driver for checking emails, things like that. So yeah, there you go. The setup. And me. So I tend to try and keep things simple because in my mind I've worked with IT for too many years. I'm a software developer in the real world. The more and more layers of bits and pieces you have, the more there is to go wrong. I tend to like using the avionics in the aeroplanes rather than relying on things like LittleNavMap too much. So, you know, invariably I'll use LittleNavMap just as a visual aid, but I try and use the avionics if I can, because then it's much more like, you know, what the real pilot would have. Right, so 12 miles to run. So should we have a quick look at Chivenna? So you can see there's a load of disused runways, so maybe we won't be stopping at Chivenna. Maybe we'll carry on to Dunkeswell, because it looks like all of the runways are out of use. It's an old airbase by the look of it. So we'll certainly have a look at it before we continue on our way. So maybe we go for an outside view. So we've got 10 miles to run yet. We're not quite there yet. Obviously this is going to be telling us to go the direction we're actually going. No, it's just approaching VNav. I never use VNav on the little aeroplanes. I can't see a point. There's some beefy fuel tanks on this thing, aren't they? On the tip tanks. Just keep an eye on the instruments. RPM's fine, manifold pressure's fine. Fuel flow is fine. Fuel quantity is slowly depleting. Exhaust gas temperature is fine. We're looking good. I'm just looking out over the front to see if we can see this airfield. So it's just across the water. It's over here somewhere. So, John Zena is saying, if you could get one aircraft for free, what would it be? I don't know. Trouble is, I've already got most of the airplanes I want. I've studiously avoided the virtual Coles and Captain Sim aircraft. I did take a hit one day just to show people what they were like and went and bought a couple of them. But it was pretty much a waste of kind of 30 quid by the time I'd bought a couple of them. But the video was instructive to other people to show you what what you were getting. But no, I've pretty much got the airplanes I've been after. The one that I have I've seen, and I haven't played DCS much recently, was the F-15E in DCS, which apparently is an absolute beast. I've not really looked at it properly. The Aerosoft A330 looks really interesting. So this is on nav mode, so it'll make the turn on its own. So let's have a look and watch it do it. It's interesting how it's got such a flat bottom, isn't it? There must be aerodynamic advantages to that. Obviously we can look down. So there's the disused airfield. So it's obviously a military one, isn't it? You can tell from the taxiways and the parking areas. The industrial estate now is built up on where the hangars used to be. Flight sim looks amazing sometimes, doesn't it? Especially when you get an aeroplane like the 310 that's really well modelled. Engine drone is a bit loud. Yeah, we can sort that out really quickly. That's probably because we were outside as well. The outside view is always a bit noisier. To be honest, I need to turn my own volume down as well in the headphones so it doesn't drive me around a twist. Okay, so we have 33 miles to run, so if you'll excuse me, I'm going to turn off the head tracking and we're going to go and grab a coffee, and I'll be back in a moment. Right, I'm back. So we are racing across the Exmoor National Park towards Dunkeswell. Well, I say racing, we're not going that fast, are we? Let's go and have a look inside. Put the head tracking back on, recenter it. We are doing 175 knots indicated. There's hardly any wind today. 17 miles to run to Dunkeswell. 184 knots over the ground. It's all remarkably straightforward. Still not even down to half a tank of fuel yet. So if we open LittleNavMap up a bit bigger, you can see our route so far. So Exeter's off to our right at the moment. So if we look out over there, can we see Exeter? It's on a hill, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit too far away to be rendering it. Okay. I'm going to turn the head tracking off for a little bit so I can sip my coffee without the screen nodding around all over the place. Might have to move the microphone as well, otherwise you're going to hear slurping sounds at extreme close range. The 310 is a bit of a masterpiece, isn't it? It just looks amazing from whatever angle you look at it from. They've really done a number on it. It's very, very good. Oh, this was clean when we started. It's going to be a right mess by the time we finish, isn't it? Look at that. To get the sponge out. Yeah, I can pause it. So I'm just reading the live stream comments. So we've got a comment saying, "Is that what you meant by saying you can't just pause like you can with Track IR?" So if I go, let's go inside to explain this. So there we go. We've got head tracking working. Yeah. Now, if I turn head tracking off, it goes back to the default view in the simulator. So it centers back up. If I then turn head tracking back on, it jumps back to where I was looking. Or sorry, to where I am looking. Yeah? So when you turn it off, it doesn't stay where you're looking, which can be a real pain. There may be a way around it, I just haven't discovered yet. I'll have to do a bit of reading. But, I mean, I don't usually take what people have said as read, because sometimes they just don't know any more than what they know, and there may be a way of doing it. It's like a lot of people didn't realise that this does head tracking, you know, that you can wander around, and they've been fixed in place just using it to rotate their head so far, and didn't realise there's actually a trick in Flight Sim to get the head tracking working, that you have to go and delete the keyboard profile. I'm not entirely sure why, but you do. So John Zena is saying, do you know how LittleNavMap calculates the fuel? I do. I can show you it. So we got. I'm just going to do this touch and go first, and then when we're doing the next leg, I'll explain it because it will take a little while. So autopilot off. Throttle's pulled back, we're losing airspeed intentionally, I will say. So we're going to turn right and then come back. Airfield's down there. So we haven't turned right enough. This is what comes of not looking at the airfield properly and figuring out the runway directions. So I'm kind of winging it. Which is not a great way to do things. So just going to fly away from the airfield for a moment and then come back in. So we'll get the gear down. Hill's in just the right place, isn't it? Yeah, I've got a bit low. That's what you get for not looking out the window sideways and tracking your position. So we want to go a little bit left. It's a huge runway, isn't it? Oops, bounce. As you can see, I'm still a little bit tentative with getting my head position sorted out for approach. I know a lot of people turn head tracking off for approach, but I'd rather just have the pain and get used to it, to be honest. Okay, so we'll get back stable on the next leg. And then I will have a look at LittleNavMap and show you how the performance profiles work. So it should climb to 2,000 feet on its own. and level out. Just keep an eye on it while it does it, just to make sure it does. So it's just joining the track. We'll align the course direction with the actual direction we're going. Okay, so yeah, it's just wound out the vertical speed, so perfect. So we'll leave it running along on autopilot. Right, I'll show you this in LittleNavMap now. So, you can see at the moment I've got the wrong performance profile. So in LittleNavMap it has this concept of aircraft performance. So you can open performance files, and I don't think have I got a Cessna 310. No, I haven't. So let's go and pick something fairly close to it in performance. So I don't think I've got anything. There's a DA62, which is probably not a million miles away. So if we open that, and it's complaining that what I'm flying doesn't match it. But if we go and edit the aircraft performance, you can fill in for a given aeroplane all the details about it. So you can make new performance profiles, and in here you fill in, and you can change the weight and volumes and stuff, you know, to make sense to fill it in based on the data you've got. Then you fill all of this in, and you can put in, you know, fuel flow in cruise and in descent and in climb, and that's what allows LittleNavMap to calculate it. So the really clever bit though is you don't have to know these numbers. What you can do is in the aircraft menu, so before you start a flight, go and restart aircraft performance collection. So the whole time you are flying, LittleNavMap is actually recording the data, whether you like it or not. So before you do a flight, you restart it. Then when you land, you make a new profile, a new aircraft performance, and give it an aircraft name, and you merge the collected data into the aircraft performance, and what that will do is fill that in for you based on what it's just seen. Okay, so you fly a flight as by the book as you can to give the LittleNavMap accurate data. And the advantage of that over using textbook numbers is you get the fuel based on the way you fly the aeroplane. So it will be much more accurate than going by the book numbers, which will be, you know, in a perfect world with a test pilot flying it by, you know, on rails. So you can essentially, in LittleNavMap then, you can save each profile and then you load it in when you're using that aeroplane, and it will give you accurate, or fairly accurate, top of descent calculations, things like that. So, William Kelly says, you say I will be online throughout the day, so you'll be taking breaks and keeping the stream alive, or starting new streams? No, I'm going to leave this stream running. We'll just stream all day. One big long flight. So let's see where we're going to next, shall we? On to Henstridge. So I've purposely picked smaller airfields. And we've got a long, long journey ahead of us. I don't know if we will get all the way through the journey today, but we'll certainly have a good go at it. So Chattanooga says, yeah, if you fly like an idiot, LittleNavMap's going to see that. So it's on you. When you're doing the collection, you're going to try and fly a route. You know, it's going to be quite stressful, because if you're trying to get a reference set of data, you're going to have to fly the aeroplane absolutely correctly. And obviously the nice way to do that is just use autopilot throughout and set vertical speeds and monitor instruments. Obviously the textbook, the pilot operating handbook for the aeroplane, will help you with that, so you can target particular manifold pressures, particular climb rates for a given, for given atmospheric conditions. So there would be a lot of planning involved. The alternative, is just to go and fill in the numbers yourself. Yeah, William Kelly's saying it would be nice if LittleNavMap auto-loaded the aircraft profile. It would. I think the even bigger one, wouldn't it be great if Flight Simulator allowed you to tie the controller configurations to aircraft? Why it doesn't do it is a mystery to me. It's a bit of a no-brainer. In my mind, the controller profiles should be tied to the aeroplanes. Certainly for the more complicated aeroplanes it would be a game changer. So we're just flying over, let's have a look, Yeovilton, home of the Fleet Air Arm Museum, if anybody's wondering, which they're probably not. Or Yeovil, not Yeovilton. So over to our left. Can we see it from here? It's probably behind that wing. It's an airfield. Whoops. Just pulled up the news. It's over there. I think. Should we just come off the autopilot a moment? It's right behind the tip tank. That's funny, the tip tank was perfectly sized to obscure the airfield from view. Okay, so we're coming in towards Henstridge. Whoa, why is this suddenly gone? Oh, I have to press F. It is a learning curve getting head tracking to work nicely. I won't deny that. It does take a while to get your head around, the positioning of it. You get a similar issue than you do with VR headsets, in that you end up trying to use the instruments a lot more, so you don't break immersion. So Rob D just had a catastrophic autopilot failure, almost lawn darted. So I shouldn't find that as funny as I do, but we've all been there. I was, what was I playing with the other evening in the sim? And the plane suddenly diverted from the route I was flying. I can't remember what plane it was now. Oh, it was the E-Jet. I was doing a bit of a first look at it, and we're flying into a destination, and suddenly it flew north. It was on approach. Everything was perfect. It was following the track, and suddenly it diverted, lost its mind, and flew north. And I had to jump out of autopilot and land it manually. So if anyone ever wonders why a message gets retracted, I've got YouTube's automated filtering of various words installed, and it sometimes does false positives, so don't get too worried if it chops your message. You might just have to reword your message slightly. Okay, so we can see Henstridge down here. It's quite a short runway. We're going to go around it and come back in from the other end. So let's get the manifold pressure down to 15. which will help us lose some speed. So you can see the speed is slowly coming off. Sit up, and so we can see over the cowl. So we'll fly it away from the airfield for a bit and then turn back in. Tap down to 1500 feet. I've not checked the airfield elevation, so we're doing our best here at guesstimating. So let's get the gear down. Flaps down for the touch and go. Obviously we've got more drag with the flaps, so I'm just pulling the throttle back in. Okay, where's next? Just gently turn. Coming up to 1,000 feet. Back out towards 2,000. Autopilot on. Whoops. Autopilot on. Nav mode on. And let it continue climbing at the rate it is up to 2,000. It should get there fairly soon. Where are we getting beeps? Just checking the control configurations. What's the beeping coming from? It's just gone straight through to... Oh, it wasn't armed. That would explain why. So if we go and do this, come back down, so it was beeping because we hadn't armed the altitude. Learn something new very quickly when you hear beeps happening, don't you? No, I wasn't low on fuel, it was just not armed the altitude, and I was on autopilot in the mode that it was just going to carry on climbing. So I had the autopilot misconfigured. Okay. Yeah, we got plenty of fuel. Just gone below £150 each side. RPM's looking good, manifold pressure's looking good. We're pushing on, we're going quite fast. 24 miles to go, so should we look and see where the next stop is? Thruxton. There's a racetrack at Thruxton, isn't there? So we're heading off towards Middle England, home counties. So Colin's saying, have I found any of the Easter eggs yet? To be honest, I haven't looked for them. I know that this airplane is packed with them. There's probably going to be various screw endings and things you click on, isn't there? So I know it's got like the tablet and stuff like that. If you click up here, there's click spot. But I've not played with it too much, to be honest. I've just flown it when I have flown it. If we switch over to the PMS, will it lose the flight plan? Although, from what we just heard, it may go and lawn dart itself as well. So if I click on this, will it do something? Or is it these ones? Stickers on the dashboard. Oh, you mean like the sticker down there? What are they supposed to do? Over the top right of the blank bit. Or on this one, you mean? Next to nav above the mixture. What, in here? Am I looking for the mouse to change shape? Oh, yes, there it is, look. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Brilliant. Okay, so there's another one here. And another one here. Another one there. Very funny. We're now going to go and scour the aeroplane looking for them, aren't we? There's another one. It's the alien. How many have we got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one more somewhere then. Anyway, we found lots of them. Well, how are we doing? We're almost at the next waypoint, aren't we? So you can see they're almost directly in front of us. So this is Thruxton. So let's go and press turn the autopilot off and get the throttles back to 1500 on the manifold pressure to lose some speed. And again we'll go... Oh, Sim's just frozen. This will be running out of RAM somewhere along the way. So just giving ourselves some turning room. So I think for this first go, I'm not going to do the whole country in one go, because that really would mean me sitting here till midnight probably. What I might do is park at Wycombe when we get there, because we're not too far away from Wycombe now. It's certainly been educational though, isn't it, this? Somebody's asked me to make another video as well, so I need to do that as well at some point today. They've asked me about helping with configuration for multiplayer multiplayer flight. Oh, we got a visitor now. We have somebody with us. Very cool. Yeah, so somebody asked if I could help them configure for multiplayer flight, so I'm going to do a video all about what you need to do to get started with multiplayer. Because I know people who are just starting out with the sim, it's a bit of a hill to climb in terms of, you know, getting your head around Discord and the all-player settings and stuff like that. Okay, let's get the gear down. There we go, one red, one white. Pretty much on track. There's a lot to be said for giving yourself time to prepare, isn't there? Getting a bit low. Just bob over the trees. Still a little bit heavy, but better than the last one. And I'm still not getting much better at steering on the ground using head tracking. Okay, so we need to turn. We now have 30 miles to run. So let's get the autopilot back on. We're just coming up through 1,500 feet. Just trimming the aeroplane out slightly. Climb at 500 feet a minute to get to 2,000, and we're all good. So manifold pressure's fine, flaps are up, gears up. We're looking good. So we want this to be about 80 degrees, which it already is. Why is that off? Is it because of the wind? Only a 4-knot wind. It's a tailwind. Why is this off? Oh, I just... Yeah, because... Oh, sorry, yes, that's 80 degrees. I'm misreading it. Oh. Okay, the switch didn't work. I'm going to have to cycle the gear. So my switch on the Airbus stick was up, but for some reason it hadn't triggered it. How interesting. I wondered why we were going so slowly. So CJM845 is saying, will you do flights with helicopters? I'm going to do a whole raft of flights with different aircraft to see how the head tracking works with them. The next up was probably going to be Stoll. So go and grab the Zenith or something like that, because I think head tracking will really play into the hands of the little Stoll aeroplanes. So we've got Blackbushe next, and then up to Wycombe. I noticed, is it SC Designs have made a Blackbushe airport in Flight Sim? I might go and get it later, because I've been slowly trying to get hold of a lot of the little GA airfields around the middle of the UK. So we've got 23 miles to Blackbushe. We'll probably overfly Blackbushe and go straight on to Wycombe, rather than do yet another circuit, or yet another, sorry, touch and go. The Alouette is amazing. Okay, I'll write that one down. Is that the little one that looks like kind of like the Action Man helicopter from the 1970s? Or if you watched any of the early 70s TV shows when you were a kid, like was it Chopper Squad and things like that? I think that was that might have been an Alouette. It is quite spooky, this whole head tracking thing. Obviously it's very new to me, so I'm still learning the ropes. And you're seeing that most obviously on approach. So I think to give yourself half a chance, with VR it would be a different story, but I think there's a good argument for turning it off on approach. Because otherwise you lose some of your lateral positioning. Especially in crosswinds, it would be very tough. The Alouette looks like it's going to break every second in flight. Sounds like a good aeroplane or helicopter then. I haven't flown the Junkyard Monster. I bet that would look good with the head tracker, wouldn't it? I haven't flown that since it came out. Or Scrapyard Monster, I think it's called, isn't it? So yeah, I can map buttons here to do the on-off. It's not a problem. I've set it to keyboard keys at the moment. I haven't really thought too much about it. I really need to, if you were watching earlier, I've got the Airbus throttle and stick. I may end up replacing them with more of a fighter plane one, because the fighter sticks and throttles have a lot more switches on them, and in various multiple hats, which would become really useful. Certainly for DCS it's obviously very useful, but a proper HOTAS setup might be the way I go. purely so I can have more things. It's certainly for head tracking. It's a pain if you have to look at the keyboard, because obviously suddenly I look down in the aeroplane, whereas if everything's on HOTAS it would be a lot easier. It's funny you say that. I've been looking at the Thrustmaster T16000 HOTAS. The big question is, do I go halfway and buy that, or do you go save the money up for a bit longer and go and get the Warthog? The Warthog is built like a tank, isn't it? The build quality on it is the big differentiating factor. Oh, Sim's frozen. Hopefully it will release. There it goes. So yeah, that was them spawning in, look. So the multiplayer servers are having fun today. So while we're en route then, seeing as we have some company, I'm going to come off the autopilot and see what this is like for doing formation. Flight sims, yeah, there's server problems. Just suddenly vanished. Oh well, that was fun while it lasted. That's a shame, isn't it? So yeah, I might look into getting one of those joysticks and the quadrant and stick set. Because to be honest, I've got this Airbus one. I don't use half of the functionality on it. It's crazy. I never use the engine start switches. I never use the park brake. Oh, sorry, no, I use the parking brake. I never use the auto brake lever on it. I don't use the ignition switches on it. Sorry, I'm just looking at it there, and obviously you're seeing me look around the cockpit like an idiot. So here comes Blackbushe over here. So let's go and do a touch and go. It won't hurt, will it? So we'll do again left circuit in. So manifold pressure down to 15. Scrub some speed off and descend a little bit. I don't mind anybody flying around me during flights. I know some people turn off multiplayer and they have a real fit about it, about people getting in their way or whatever, but I have absolutely no problem with it. I just ignore people. I think it's good to see other people in the sky. Obviously in the real world, if you got within a mile of somebody, it would be a bit of an event, but and you know, that's why you scan. That's why you're looking around all the time, looking for aeroplanes. Situational awareness and all of that. And obviously you'd be listening to Unicom as well. There's a lot of cars here, isn't there? So is Blackbushe used as a storage place? Is that the story behind it? That's madness. I'll see if I've got the right airfield. Yeah, I am. I'm at the right airfield. So, yeah, MacVision saying save up more and buy the Virpil. My dad's got a Virpil. And it is the best joystick I have ever seen. By quite some distance. Yeah, it makes everything else look a bit crap. But you pay for it, don't you? Oh, so Felix is saying, yeah, I noticed the BAE 146 is on sale as well. So Felix is wondering what he should do. Well, the obvious answer is buy both. I think I'm biased. I think the 146 is actually nicer to fly than the F-28. But they both have their pros and cons. The huge advantage the 146 has is you can split the nav radios. Okay, just coming into Blackbushe, we can see the lights there, so we're a little bit... it's difficult to see them at this angle, actually. Got 1 red, 3 whites, I think, so we're a little bit high then, so we'll... although it looks like we're low. There we go, 2 reds, 2 whites. Going high again. I'm going high on purpose, by the way, to avoid these trees, because I think if I followed the pappy lights, we'd end up in the trees. That was better. Practice makes perfect, hey? That's a lot of cars. Is there some sort of motoring club meetup going on there? The 146 sounds are every bit as good as the F-28. They are both good. They both have pros and cons. I think just because I like navigating by VORs, I appreciate that the 146 has this trick where you can have the right side of the cockpit on nav 2, for example, and the left side on nav 1. It's called split mode. Whereas the F-28 doesn't do that. Or not in my experience so far, but then the F-28's got loads of other bits and bobs that are really great as well, so they're both good. I think that's the takeaway. They're both very, very good. So gear is up, flaps are up. Throttle is set for cruise, and we're off towards Booker, which will be the end of today's live stream because I need to go and have some lunch anyway. And there's some other videos I want to do today to help people out. Like I said, somebody has asked about a multiplayer video to walk them through how they take part in group flights, because they've obviously seen the group flights I share on the channel sometimes with Virtual Flight Online. And for a lot of people, they've never really taken part in group activities, so there is quite a bit to it when you think about it, isn't there? Because you have to go and set the flight conditions correctly. You have to go and set your server, so you have to know about the Xbox account. If you want to talk, you've then got to have Discord installed. So K Williams 04 Jenny, does anyone have issues with the marketplace where it becomes unavailable? Yes. The usual cause, if I just show you this, so when you click on your name at the top corner of Flight Simulator, that's your Xbox account. So Xbox being the gaming store at Microsoft, even though you're not playing on an Xbox if you're on a PC. I think when you sign into Flight Simulator, it how can I describe this? It essentially refreshes your license. Now, if it hasn't done that for a while, for whatever reason, you can as far as I understand, you can end up with an outdated authentication with Xbox. So, and maybe there's a bug in it that causes it to happen, because I've seen it in the past once or twice, and I know other people have. The usual trick is to sign out of Flight Simulator. So if you go up to that menu and sign out, but just do it when you're in the main menu though. Don't do it while you're in flight, because it will take you out of the simulator. So if you sign out and then go back in, it may well fix it. The other trick you can do is actually go to the Xbox website, the store, and sign out and sign back into that as well, just to get it to refresh everything. But it could also be the store is just down in your part of the world. So I have not got live weather on. It was super windy when I took off from Cornwall earlier, so I disabled the live weather. Okay, so we're back on track, 12 miles out from Booker. I'll show you my house in a moment, because Booker is just down the road actually from where I live. So let's have a look on the map, see where we are. So we're going to fly to this side of the track on purpose to fly over the top of Marlow. Actually, can we get to the River Thames easily from here? It's a little way yet, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to cross it. So once we get to the Thames, we'll follow it. So we're going to pass White Waltham in a moment, which is an old wartime airfield that's still used for some aircraft. So let's go and descend. This is going to be a first for the channel. You're actually going to see my house. So we're coming up towards Marlow. You can see the sweep of the river just coming along here. It's the River Thames that ends up in London. So way further out that way. If we look out over there, yeah, it's not quite rendering the city yet. So let's press F12 to centre this up. I wouldn't worry about anybody thinking that they'll know exactly where I live, because the construction of the town isn't very accurate. So it hasn't got exact houses in exact places. I'm just going to show you the general area. So I used to work along this river. There's a, you can see there's a marina here. So I used to work just over there. That's where the office was before the pandemic, and we sold it. So So I used to cycle out over the hills to get there every day. It's about 3 miles each way. So this comes down through town. So this is Higginson Park. We're just coming past down this end, and then you've got the bridge over the river. The bridge is a replica, it's not modelled in the sim, of the one over the River Danube in Budapest. So the green just here, we live on this corner of the green. So let's have a look around. So yeah, so the house is somewhere on that corner, but it's not modelled wonderfully well. So you can see there's the River Thames weaving past. If you continue on down the Thames that way and keep following it as it weaves across the landscape, it ends up in London. You can see there's Heathrow in the distance over there. So if I was to get a radio scanner, I could listen to the ATC traffic at Heathrow, which would be good fun. Okay, let's go back towards... So High Wycombe's just over here, which we're heading towards. And to the side of High Wycombe, you can see there's Booker Airfield. So we're heading towards the industrial estate. So High Wycombe's a big sprawling place. There's kind of a steep hill, or it looks steep when you're in a car, going down into the town. So the town's in a kind of a hole in between the various valleys, so all of the streets in Wycombe are on hills. Obviously this is not the pattern we're following to come into Wycombe, so there's the airfield. So let's come off the power. We're going to rush this slightly. There we go. The proper circuit into Wycombe to come in from this direction is to come in from a completely different direction. We're completely breaking all of the pattern rules to do this. Although from this point on, if we had come in from our right, we would be on the pattern. Okay, flaps up. Parts of the grass. And we'll taxi in. Whew. So yeah, this is the latest build of the 310R, answering the question from Joshua there in the live stream chat. So that's half the reason for trying it this morning, to see how different it was. Obviously, it seemed like there was a lot of tweaks to do with performance, which I've not obviously experimented with. I've just been playing around with the Tobii head tracker, to be honest. just rolling into Wycombe. This is the Pilot Plus version of Wycombe Air Park, or Bucket Airfield. Okay, so you can see I'm still having trouble with this. They are very, very fiddly click spots. I still can't grab that. Look, we even stood right on top of it. Okay, I think we're good. And then just go and turn the batteries off. Obviously the door's working this, so there's a door this side, isn't there? Oh, I thought it did. Oh, there you go. So hopefully you enjoyed that. That was the 310 with the updates on it, and a fairly long flight. We didn't get up as far as Scotland today, but I'll edit the title of the video so we don't mislead people. It's still quite a long flight though, wasn't it, across the UK, all the way from Land's End up to Wycombe. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all again soon. So Joshua, do you want me to find out exactly for you? So let's go and have a look. So if we go to the community folder and look in the 310 folder and go to the manifest file, package version 1.1.0. What's the date on the files? If I look inside some of the folders, because I think that might be the install date. They're all over the place, so aren't they? So yeah, it's difficult to know. I've always gone by this. Maybe I haven't installed it. I thought I did. Yes, I did, because I remember doing it the other day. Oh, okay, so you can't go by that with the 310. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Looks like we're about to have a massive thunderstorm outside, so maybe this is a good point to stop anyway before we lose electricity. See you all soon. Thank you for watching.